Welcome to another amazing episode of our movie. Trust me, you're gonna love this one. At the end of the movie, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to receive more of our latest releases. Just relax and enjoy. This movie begins with two close friends who were more like a couple, although they weren't married yet. But they probably would be if everything went as planned. They were having a great time together when TARI told Tamuno about a musician she wanted to sing for her on a special day. Tamuno assured her it would happen. They talked about a lot of interesting things that night and enjoyed each other's company. The next day, while TARI and Tamuno went fishing in a canoe, their village's main means of survival, they had fun during the process and were always together. Tamuno caught many fish that day, but TARI wasn't satisfied. She persuaded him to catch more, and he did. When they got home that day, they began enjoying their meal together. However, Tamuno's mom stepped in because their affection for each other was becoming too much. Later that night, after the wonderful moments and achievements of the day, they made love. The next day, while at the river, Tamuno and TARI discussed their future, though Tamuno seemed less energetic than usual. He admitted he was tired of his daily routine and wanted more out of life. TARI tried cheering him up, but it didn't work. They went to a bridge where Tamuno told TARI about his plan to leave, make some money, marry her properly, and start a family. TARI feared he might abandon her for other women who were smarter, but he assured her he would come back for her. They returned home with heavy hearts. Tamuno informed his mom of his plans, and she consoled TARI, promising that he would return. As Tamuno's mom packed his bags, he spent one last time with TARI, who was still trying to convince him not to leave. But his reasons were firm and justified. He managed to cheer her up, and they shared a few more beautiful moments together. Though, if it were up to TARI, she wouldn't let him go. She had no choice. The next day, they escorted Tamuno to the bus station. Before he left, he expressed his love for both TARI and his mother, promising to return. TARI was heartbroken, but hoped she would get over it, knowing he would come back soon. However, when Tamuno arrived in the city, he couldn't find his way to the location he was given. His phone had also been stolen, leaving him stranded. Days passed, and TARI tried to reach Tamuno, but his number wasn't going through. She became increasingly worried and went to Tamuno's mom to share her concerns. His mother confirmed that she also hadn't been able to reach him, but assured TARI that he was fine and would call them soon. As TARI was leaving, she fainted. When she woke up, Tamuno's mom was overjoyed and revealed that TARI was pregnant. Although TARI was in denial, even with the evidence, Tamuno's mom tried to calm her down and stop her from worrying too much. TARI locked herself in for days without food. Tamuno's mom came to check on her and to confirm if Tamuno was the father of the baby. TARI confirmed it, but Tamuno's mom defended her son, insisting he couldn't have been responsible. TARI, feeling abandoned, was in deep pain. Later that day, TARI went fishing alone. She began taking care of herself despite the pregnancy, which was not advisable due to the stress. One night, after struggling to survive, she woke up bleeding. It was a miscarriage. TARI lost the baby, and in her grief, she vowed to go to the city, make her own money, and ensure that no one would ever take anything from her again. She also swore that Tamuno would regret leaving her and abandoning her. Years later, TARI became wealthy and was driving an expensive car when she passed by Tamuno without saying a word or acknowledging him. Tamuno recognized her face but wasn't sure, so they both went their separate ways. Do you think TARI is making the right decision? Do you think she will ever love a man again? Let's see what happens in the end. TARI got home that day in tears, while Tamuno returned home confused because the woman he saw looked so familiar. He couldn't stop wondering who she was. Later that night, TARI told her colleague Sharon at the office about her ex-boyfriend who had abandoned her. Sharon advised her not to worry about him, assuring her that he wouldn't be able to locate her or her house. TARI, however, was deeply hurt by the fact that Tamuno was now rich, more handsome, and had seemingly forgotten about her, as if she never existed. She also wondered what he was doing at her office, but Sharon tried to comfort her. Later that evening, as TARI was heading to an important meeting in her car, Tamuno stopped her with his own car, hoping to start a conversation. She denied knowing or having ever met him, and told him to get out of the way. Tamuno was surprised by her attitude and insisted on talking, but she got into her car and drove off, leaving him without an explanation. He was hurt and confused about why she would behave this way. The next day at the office, as Tari wondered why the meeting hadn't started, Sharon and other colleagues informed her about a company merger. Tari was surprised and upset about having to work with someone else. When she asked who it was, Tamuno walked in and introduced himself as the manager of the new company they would be working with. Tari was shocked, almost as if it were a dream. Tari went back to her office with Sharon, panicking about having to work closely with Tamuno due to all the memories. She even considered resigning from her job because of him, but Sharon discouraged her, reminding her of how hard she had worked to get to this point and that it wasn't worth giving up over a man. Sharon calmed her down, and they both worked together to come up with a better solution, but it was clear that Tari still wanted to let everything go. Later that day, as Tari was leaving work, Tamuno tried to speak with her again, but she insisted she didn't know him and did everything possible to get away from him, which she managed to do successfully. That night, while Sharon was busy on her laptop in the living room, Tari came in, frustrated by how persistent Tamuno had become. Sharon asked her if she still loved him, which led Tari to pour out her pain about how Tamuno had abandoned her, how she had been bullied, lost her only child, and suffered because of him. She was angry that Sharon could even ask if she still loved him, when the answer was so obvious. Sharon sympathized with her and told her to just ignore him, reminding her that she was a busy woman. Not long after, there was a knock at the door. When Tari went to check, no one was there, but there was a gift. She took it inside, puzzled. Sharon looked at the package and saw that it was for Tari. Though she was concerned, when Tari opened it, she found a roasted crab, which reminded her of the times she and Tamuno shared in the village, playing and enjoying their moments together. Tari was furious that Tamuno had found her house, but Sharon tried to change the topic, saying she didn't know who he was. And that was that. The next day at the office, Tari saw more packages from Tamuno and threw them away. When he came in, she sternly told him to stop and warned him never to send her anything again. She threatened to report him to higher authorities if he tried to contact her or show up at her house again. Tamuno insisted that she knew him, but since she was tired of his stalking, she kicked him out of her office with a harsh tone. Later that day, as Tamuno was lost in thought, he received a phone call that broke him deeply. Let's see how things turn out from here. That night, while Tari was ironing her clothes for the next day, Sharon brought up Tamuno's mother, mentioning how well she had treated her in the past. This made Tari emotional again, and she began repeating her earlier complaints. Sharon had to calm her down once more, warning her not to bring up the issue again. They eventually cheered up and resumed their fun. The next day at the office, Tamuno brought a document for Tari to sign, just as he had been introduced. However, after she expressed her irritation towards him, she told him she couldn't sign it. Tamuno already anticipated this, so he suggested that he would request a transfer to another location because their working together was not producing the results the company expected. Tari got emotional, as it reminded her of when he left her in the village. In grief, she told him to leave if he wanted because she was used to it. Tamuno felt her pain and finally understood why she had always denied knowing him, so he left. Tari felt somewhat relieved because she had finally expressed her pain to the right person. But let's see how this ends up. Do you think Tari will fall in love again? Watch until the end to find out. Later that day, Tamuno followed Tari to her house. When she saw him, she quickly ran inside to avoid any confrontation with him. However, Tamuno wasn't satisfied because there was more he needed to say. The next day at the office, while Tari was leading the board meeting, Tamuno watched her with a smile on his face, enjoying her energy. This made Sharon comment on it when Tari later asked about her performance. They joked about it, and as soon as Sharon left, Tamuno came in and complimented Tari on her performance. However, Tari, wanting to avoid him, quickly thanked him and sent him out. Wow, what do you think is going on here? I guess you know, but let's find out what it truly is. Later that day, Tamuno came to Tari's house unannounced and wanted to speak with her, but Tari refused. While she was trying to get him to leave, he told her that his mother had passed away. Tari paused for a moment, but downplayed it. Though she expressed her condolences, Tamuno was shocked by her lack of empathy towards the woman who had once treated her like a daughter and made her life easier. Tari then explained how his mother had treated her when he was gone and said that her death didn't change her feelings. Tamuno found it hard to believe, but it was what it was, so she sent him out of her house, crying as she relived her pain. That same night, Tamuno asked Sharon to give Tari some food he had prepared for her, knowing her tastes well. Although Sharon hesitated, she eventually agreed, touched by his sincerity and care. When she told Tari about the care and love Tamuno still felt for her, Tari became irritated and upset, feeling that Sharon believed she had changed. Sharon pointed out that if Tari truly hated him, she would have moved on and dated someone else by now. Sharon left because Tari was unwilling to listen, leaving Tari surprised. It seems things are starting to change. Later that night, before going to bed, Tamuno reviewed some of Tari's files and was impressed. He called her to tell her this and took the opportunity to apologize on behalf of his late mother, who had wanted to apologize to Tari before she passed. However, Tari had never returned to the village since she left. Though she didn't reveal everything that had happened, Tari decided to let it go because it was all in the past. Tamuno also wished her a happy birthday, as her birthday was the next day, and then ended the call. Tamuno reached out to Sharon again for help, but let's see what he's up to this time. Later, Sharon burst into the room, shouting, "Happy birthday!" Tari was surprised. Sharon told her about the great surprise waiting outside, and when Tari excitedly went to check, she found Tamuno standing there. Angrily, she went back inside, but Sharon stopped her. Soon after, a musician whom Tari had always dreamed of having sing for her on a special day arrived and sang her favorite song. Tari was thrilled and danced, expressing her happiness. When they went back inside, Tamuno explained that he had never left her intentionally. He told her that when he first arrived in Lagos, his phone was stolen, and he was arrested during a police raid. He had spent months in prison until a good Samaritan helped him out. After being released, he worked hard to get a phone and tried reaching her, but his mother had told him that Tari had left. Despite his efforts, he couldn't reach her. He apologized once again and wished her a happy birthday before leaving. You could tell that Tari was touched by what had happened to him. Sharon also apologized for going against Tari's wishes, but explained that she had no choice because she wanted her best friend's day to be special. They laughed and joked, and Sharon helped make Tari's birthday a memorable one. Tari checked all the surprises Tamuno had given her, loved them, and went to bed happy. The next morning, while Tari was still asleep, Sharon woke her up with a call about her promotion. It turned out that Tamuno had helped her get it because he wanted to make things right. Tari was so excited that she rushed to see Tamuno, but before she could, there was a knock at the door. It was Tamuno, bringing her more gifts and congratulating her on her promotion. She thanked him, and they decided to start over. They hugged and kissed, rekindling their love. This is how Tamuno was able to win her heart back. Sometimes it's hard to let go, but there's nothing like being with someone who will love you no matter what comes your way. Thanks for watching this amazing story in my world of movies. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get more interesting and fascinating stories like this. See you in our next movie.
you.